Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Lessons on Advice. We're here to share our passion for financial planning and to help guide you on your way in this rewarding profession. I'm Ben Butler, and joining me on this journey are my esteemed colleagues, Anna Tweedy, Anna Evans, and Mr. Will Hartley. How are we all doing today?
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic start. Adam was on mute.
All good, Ken, thank you.
Great stuff.
I'll stay off mute just now. That's it. But yeah, thanks for the introduction, Ben. I'm Adam Tweedy. I'm the northern member of the four of us today. So up in Glasgow, Scotland, running my own firm up here.
Lovely. Anna, how are you doing today? I know we've had some troubles with technology, but
technology is not my forte. But what can I say? We learn things quickly. We learn what works and what doesn't. But yeah, I'm Anna Evans. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. You're based in Milton Keynes. So nice and central. To be able to get around quite a lot. But yeah, I'm doing very well, thanks. How are you guys?
Fantastic. Will.
Yes, I'm Will. I'm based in Leeds, Wakey, Huddersfield Triangle, the Rhubarb Triangle, near enough. So yeah, normally I'd say I'm the northern one, but Adam's got me beat there. So there we go. Yeah, I'm doing
Just
good.
by that.
And just by a bit, yeah. Just by a few hundred miles, not.
Yeah. To be fair, it's very northern for me and Anna. I think what's the judgment? It's the Watford Gap, isn't it?
Ben, that's southern snobbery. Come on.
I went to Manchester once just for a golf trip, and the second I got past Nottingham, I started bleeding out my nose just from the altitude difference.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm originally from Croydon, so I keep that southern side of just below the M25.
Yeah, but you keep the Croydon thing very well hidden.
I do. Yeah, I've let that out quite early, haven't I? What's that about? Usually I tell people I'm from Surrey, that's better.
Yeah. The aims for today is just a bit of a brief introduction to who we are and what we're trying to do with this podcast. We're going to start off with some introductions to each of our team members, just a bit of history, how they got into this profession of ours, how they're finding it, and any troubles or struggles that you all might have had along the way. So I think, should we start off with Adam? Tell us your story.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Ben. So I've started in financial planning back in April last year. That's when I qualified from one of the academies. That was the route I went down. So I'm a partner at a firm. Straight out of school, for some reason, I think Ben found this strange in the first instance that we met, but I'd done my CMAP qualification, not too sure why. But my dad, he ran a successful mortgage firm, and I thought, seen the way that he used to work, and thought that was a route I'd like to go down. Ended up on the Isle of Skye, so that is very far north for a lot of you, running a hospitality business. So life pulls you in different angles, and that's where it ended up, through a family business. COVID hit, and it was cancellation after cancellation for that hospitality business. It was pretty much on its knees, and I thought it would be a fun idea to sit my diploma in financial advice. Basically, because I heard a lot of noise in the industry that financial advisors are generally a bit older. There's a lot of opportunity. It was a bit of a natural progression from mortgage advice as well. So sat my diploma, thankfully passed it, and I'm sitting here today on this podcast.
Fantastic. And how did you find the exam route when you were going in? Was it all quite straightforward for you?
To be honest, no. So I had a friend who was in recruitment for financial planning, and he recommended that I sat the exams. Quite a lot of the people on the course that I was on were sitting in a financial advice firm, so they can turn to the principal or partner and say, how does this work? Whereas I was stuck up in the Isle of Skye with my laptop, barely knew what a stock and a share was. And, that's why I found that quite difficult. Cards on the table, I actually failed it first time round. However, I was down in London for the Scotland-England football match. I paid 80 quid for a remark and I managed to pass it. So that was the best sitting at my breakfast, ready to tuck in, and managed to pass it. So that was nice.
You didn't resit it on the same day, did you? Or
No, so I was 2 marks under the required amount. I said, "Is there any point in remarking this?" And the woman said, "No. If it was 1 mark, then maybe." And they came back and they gave me 3 extra marks, so managed to pass it, which was nice. So,
and
but yeah,
you went down the CII route?
No, so I went down the LIBF route. So I'd done RO1 first of all, and then switched to LIBF. For no reason in particular. It was just a friend recommended that route, and I found it really good as well.
Great.
So yeah, so that's how I'm sitting here today. But anyone that's potentially looking at doing the exams, I wouldn't shy away from it. They are really good.
Yeah, it's good. There's a couple of options to go through, because I think there is a bit of a style with each of the providers. So with CII, I think the vast majority of it is the multi-choice, whereas LIBF, I think my understanding is that it's more coursework based. Is that right?
Yeah, I've got the chunky books sitting right above me that I don't want to open anytime soon. But yeah, it's more kind of coursework based and case studies as well. I prefer that route, to be honest.
Yeah. That's fantastic, brilliant. Okay, so moving on, Anna, tell us how did you get into to financial planning?
Oh, the big bad world of me. Yeah. So I many years ago, for over 10 years ago, I basically I graduated from uni with an accounting and finance degree, and I thought, yeah, this isn't really for me. I kind of don't want to be an accountant. I'm going to go down the route of banking. I'm really interested in the investment banking world. I was at uni. I was still really interested in that. I basically did a unit at uni on financial crime, and I was like, yeah, this is a bit of me. It's very interesting. I'm loving that. Soon discovered that that wasn't for me, but I did love the banking world, and I started within a financial consulting firm that I worked with for many years. As a consultant, I worked at a couple of different banks, and got to kind of experience how they all worked. Majority of my roles were in sort of back office, so a lot of settlements. I basically got sort of spoken to a few of my friends about how I was a glorified Monopoly player, because quite often my role was moving cash from one bank account to another to pay for these trades, and I was part of cash management team. And essentially, I used to say, some of these were a lot of money, millions, if not billions of pounds sometimes. And I'm like, you had to count the zeros,
Yeah.
And it was really fun. But, after a while, I realised I got married and kind of wanted to move out of the city. I was doing very long hours and work a little bit closer to home. So I joined a wine fund, or a private equity fund. I joined a wine fund. And I did that for a couple of years, was really, really interesting it. But I knew nothing about wine, other than, how much I can help analyse the markets. And I was very good with a spreadsheet. So I remember my interview, walking in and thinking, I don't know how I'm going to nail this job interview. I don't know anything about wine. And I soon found out that they weren't looking for somebody who knew anything about wine, especially when they said, what is your knowledge of wine? And I've said, red, white, pink, and fizzy. Yeah. So the fizzy kind, if you're interested, is my favourite. Maybe pink fizzy. We can mix it up a little bit. But yeah, I think they liked that. They weren't interested in someone that knew anything about wine. They were interested in, what I could bring to the table from a analysis point of view. So yeah, really enjoyed that.
Was there much tasting in the wine world?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, there was definitely a lot of taste. There was some stuff that come around every now and again. If suppliers sent in new bits, we'd get them out. The difficult thing is I drove to work, so they'd get them out in the middle of the day. We'd have a little taste, and I think, this is disappointing. I'm getting a taste. You have that one glass of wine, and it gets you kind of going, oh yeah, this is nice. I could have a few more. Can't have a few more because I've got to drive home. So yeah, disappointed, but my husband did love that, every now and again on a Friday I'd bring home with a bottle of wine that had a label ruined or something that we couldn't sell to customers, but our wine cupboard got very nice after a while. It's very much diminished now, but it was looking good for a while. Then I unfortunately was made redundant while I was pregnant. It was a blessing in disguise when I look at it. I had a really nice amount of time off with my little boy, and it gave me the point to kind of sit there and think, where do I want my future to go? So I joined an academy, and I started my process of becoming a financial advisor. And like you, Adam, I didn't pass all my exams the first time. I went down the CII route. It was difficult. If anyone tells you that they're all really easy, they're lying, because it's tough. It's a tough job, and it is really hard. I had a little boy at home as well, so trying to juggle mum life and and do these exams, it was a lot. But do I regret it? No. Would I do it again? Yeah, probably. Because I think it's got to be to where I am, and yeah, I look back now and I think I did a great job. And the only exam I know this is controversial, but the only exam I think I would sit down again is RO6. I loved it. I really liked RO6.
I hated it.
Yeah, this wasn't the multiple choice one. This is one of those ones you get loads of questions and you you essentially have to kind of, you have a case study and you work with that client. And I feel like that's quite real to what we're doing these days, isn't it? You get a client, you have to analyse what they've got, and you're essentially trying to help put recommendations together. So I felt it was really, it kind of fit with quite real world situations. So yeah, I would do it again, and I did enjoy it. So yeah, controversial, but yeah.
All the way, Anna. All RO6, all the way.
Exactly right. But yeah, so that's me. That's where I am today. I eventually passed, as a second time. I also was only a few marks away, which was very disappointing. But yeah, obviously I got it the second time. And yeah, I am where I am now and enjoying every minute of it. Does it have its ups and downs? Absolutely. I'm sure that our listeners are going to hear that a lot throughout this podcast and our ups and downs. But yeah, I'm having a great time. So yeah, here I am.
No remarks, Anna.
The other thing I actually forgot to mention was that I didn't start my career once I had finished my exams. I didn't start my career as a wealth advisor. I actually started as a protection advisor for a few months. And if I'm honest, I'd suggest that for new people coming into the industry, because it gave me the ability to kind of learn. I've never been in front of a client, sitting in front of them and having those conversations. It gave me the ability to learn that process before I got into the nitty-gritties of pensions and investments and everything else. So yeah, that's an option if people think about it. Think about maybe becoming a protection advisor first, because I really enjoyed that route.
I think the thing with that is protection's so emotional as well. So once you get used to having those emotional conversations with clients, pensions, it's very factual, so they naturally go. But once you get the emotional side, I think that's the hardest bit sometimes.
Yeah, you're right. And that probably sits with me really well, because I am an emotional person. You're soon going to figure that out. But yeah, and I think it was very rewarding, being able to help people put those things in place that could really help them one day. I mean, obviously that is the same with all financial planning, but yeah, certainly from a protection point of view, it was really kind of nice.
Yeah. Just rolling back, Anna, when you were looking to, when you were leaving the wine fund and you were looking for that next role, what was it about financial planning that made you think, okay, yeah, this is the career for me? Where did you even hear about it?
Do you know, it was a friend that actually said to me first. So I was, I was doing my last few days just before maternity leave with her, and she was looking at some mortgage payments and things she was making, and she was worrying about her money. And I just went, let's sit down and let's just get a spreadsheet out and map it out for you. Let's have a look. And we got going, and obviously I was a whiz with a spreadsheet. And in the end, she kind of said to me, have you ever thought about going into financial advice? And I thought, no, I haven't actually. But she got me thinking. And then I was, I got chatting to a friend of mine whose mum is a financial advisor. So I had a call with her, and she sold me the dream. So Sally, if you're listening, you were the person that got me going. But yeah, I think after speaking to a few financial advisors and looking into the industry and what that looked like, I kind of was like, okay, I'm not just putting my knowledge of that investing banking world and my spreadsheet abilities to good use. I'm actually having the ability to help other people make the same achievements. So my husband will tell you that we have a glorified spreadsheet for our entire life. But, you know, it keeps me on track. And I hope that, you know, hopefully some of that can rub off onto my clients.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Mr. William Hartley.
Thank you. So mine's a little bit of a different route. So this is the only job I've done really is financial advice within the industry. So I started going way back. My mum was an accountant, dad was a financial advisor, and I always said I wanted to be an accountant. Love numbers, accountant. Went through college and sitting the sort of courses that would help me to go towards accountancy. Got a great opportunity to do work experience with a massive, one of the biggest accountancy firms in our area. Going into the city every day, suited and booted, sitting down with clients, going around every department in the firm, going on networking, brilliant experience. I'm lucky to have had it because it made me realise I did not want to be an accountant. It was not for me. So from there, I sort of had a brief gap where I'd left college, knew that wasn't the right thing for me, and I was looking for something else. Took a week out where I sort of, you know, went and said, right, I'd help my dad with a bit of work, only meant to be for a week or so. I said, I'm definitely not getting involved in this. And then after a week, my mind was made up, done. I'd sat in on, I think he probably teed it up on purpose with some good client meetings in there where it was literally you sitting down with people and changing their lives, retirement planning, and you're really actually seeing the impact of years of financial advice finally coming to fruition. And seeing the effect you can have on other people's lives in this job. So that was what sort of got me moving into it. So straight away, probably within 2 weeks of starting that, I'd signed up for an apprenticeship and got underway with starting with CII, but CF1 sort of exams, which are sort of the slightly lower level than the ROs, but they give you a good foundation. And I'd recommend those for anyone who's sort of of that younger age looking for an apprenticeship route. The CF1 is essentially RO1, just with slightly less topics. So when I sat RO1, which everyone says is a nightmare, I'd already have to pass it once, so I found it really easy. So I did the apprenticeship, went from the firm we were working with, took over, so then ended up at the firm I'm at now, which I've been with for 4.5 years, something like that, and worked my way up from apprenticeship through to administration, then sort of technical administration. As I sat through my exams and moved into advice, just sort of at the back end of last year, I started my advice route. So that's sort of how I got involved and got into it, loving it, and the speaking with clients, the emotional side of it, all that is the bread and butter of what we do, really, isn't it? So, but yeah, CII route for me was where I went.
Well, question.
Yeah.
Why did you choose your mum accounting over your dad FA at the very beginning?
Oh, you start a family argument here. You're trying to make me have a very uncomfortable Sunday dinner. Cool. To be honest, it was just I was really good with numbers and spreadsheets, and I thought that was a natural route. But then when I actually saw what accountants did, it was like, it's great, but for me, just not diving deep enough into the why. So, you know, you sat there doing the numbers behind the business, but I want to know, well, why was he spending that much? What was he doing it for? How many staff does he have? What's his secretary's name? What's she doing? You know, and all this sort of the intricacies of it. And from even witnessing the accountancy meetings I got to see through work experience, there was advisors involved. So seeing them at play as well, it was like, oh, actually, I want to be sat on that side of the table, not this side. But yeah, that's sort of the start.
Do you think it had anything to do with, you know, how, like, I don't know if you guys find the same, but I find when I talk about financial advice to a lot of people just glaze over. They don't really understand what financial advisors can do. Whereas I think quite often accountancy is quite, it's quite a bit more obvious, I suppose, essentially, in a way. So do you think that put you off not knowing what that essentially looked like until you did that week of knowing?
Yeah, probably. Until I'd done actually going to see the client meetings. Well, you know, especially at that age, what's a pension? What's a, you know, you can say pension, ISA, LISA, all these other words. They're just words, aren't they? Until you actually see the impact that it has and what the end result is. It's that sort of goes, I want to do the start of that journey, actually. I want to be there for, you know, the next 30 years of their life until retirement. So yeah, I think that plays a part.
I think with accountancy as well, and mortgage brokers, generally you need an accountant and a mortgage broker. The client chases you. I know we spoke about this previously, but we're essentially chasing business and trying to get people in front of us to understand exactly how we work and how we can help them. So it'd be quite nice if the clients were phoning you, but it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
No,
Yes, right.
definitely.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I need someone to lead onto my.
And okay, so
mean,
next,
that's not all
everybody, we have Ben Butler.
So yeah, I don't think there is a there isn't a classic route into advice. I don't think. I think the vast majority of people, is that old cliche, or sort of fell into it. You know, I think that applies to like 99% of people, and I think 1% of people is my dad was a financial advisor. Will. I think it was exactly the same for me. So I was at university. I was studying law at Leicester, and my goal was to be a barrister. I was amazed I got into university in the first place, let alone with a scholarship. And I was doing something known as mooting, if you've ever come across it. It's like one of those fake trials. I think they had an episode in Suits where they did it. So there's a video of me on YouTube somewhere in the gown, and I might even be wearing a wig. I might not be in that one.
Question, we need to find that ASAP.
Yeah, it's available on YouTube.
You can just see us all typing away now, getting.
I was a little bit chubby about then, and there's me giving legal argument, and I think with that one actually we have like a guest judging, and he was absolutely like really going in on me. And one of my weaknesses is I find it very hard to hide what I'm showing emotionally when I'm listening to someone. I'm giving him some like really funny looks when he's doing this, but I wanted to be a barrister, and it was at the time of the legal strikes. I don't know if you remember barristers going through London protesting. It was mostly about legal aid. It was a really hard time to break in. You kind of need to go to one of the top 2 schools and be very clever and have quite a bit of money behind you. Some of the postgrad courses were quite expensive. And in my second year, I just found it really tough. And it's just, I thought, if I can't get this job I want, I don't want to be a solicitor. So what's the point of me doing this? So I ended up dropping out, and I was looking for another career. And I remember looking through, like the university prospectuses you get, and it's got banking and finance. I was like, oh, that looks really sexy. So I was going through the roles, and there was one called relationship manager. And I read through it. I was like, well, this just sounds like I'm whining and dying at clients. It sounds like a right lark. This is fantastic. So did a bit of research, found out that a relationship manager is very similar to a wealth manager, and a wealth manager is very similar to a financial advisor. So I thought, that's it. That's the route I'm going to do. And so I had a bit of a research on the qualifications, and I saw the CISI and the CII. I thought, I don't want to do insurance, I want to do wealth stuff. So I went down the CISI route and did the level 3 certificate, and then went in right at the bottom. I was IFA administrator at the beginning at a local independent company. They put me on the right track and went through the proper route, the CII route. And again, because I'd done a previous qualification, I found RO1 a breeze. That was really easy. I was doing a little bit of mortgage work right at the beginning, so did my CF6 and RO5. RO5, I failed that twice, and even though people say it's the easiest exam, I just didn't take it seriously because I'd done the first 2 really quickly. Did a bit of mortgage protection route and work, and then COVID hits. Obviously, as an IFA administrator, you're pretty expendable. So I was put on furlough and then made redundant after that. Found another job as a paraplanner. Did that for 6 months. It was rubbish. And then found another firm that I interviewed for as a paraplanner position, and did a call with one of the directors. And the first 5 minutes you get that question of, where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's like, look, I'm not a career paraplanner. That's just not me. That's not where my skill set lies. So we spent 20 minutes talking about training advisor roles. And 2 weeks later, I got a call from the recruiter, and they said, look, I've got good news and I've got bad news for you, Ben. Bad news is they think you're going to be a pretty crap paraplanner. It's like, great, that's the job I applied for. The good news is they want to take you as a trainee advisor. So fantastic. So that was sort of how I got my first sort of trainee advisor role. I was doing paraplanning for about a year or so first. And then I was there for 2 years, got qualified, was just sitting around waiting for clients, And it's tough when you work this hard to get to that position and you're just not doing anything. So I was relatively young, was only a year ago, and I wouldn't class myself young at the moment anyway, but I was like, I have to make a change. You know, I'm sort of surrounded by sort of old boy advisors who, they were a wealth of experience. They had their client bank. They didn't have to go out and win business. It was all self-referrals. So I'm not going to generate a business here. So decided to make the jump and went self-employed. And with this company, the grass was certainly greener, you could put it. And I think I'm coming up to a year of that so far. And that's how I got here.
Just trying to unmute there. Scrambling. And what's your concerns about self-employed work, Ben? Is there anything that's worrying you? Anything that keeps you up at night? Are you pretty settled with your choice?
Yeah, look, I think if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a couple of us self-employed, a couple of us are employed here, and we sort of we've been through that. But so for anyone listening, if you're being told it's going to be hard, you can understand that yes, it's going to be hard, but until you go through it, you don't really appreciate what that's like, particularly if you don't have a client bank, you're fresh, you're building business all by yourself. It's like going to the doctors and they say, this is going to hurt. And then it hurts and you totally appreciate, oh my God, this is hard. But the reason I wanted to do it, it's like, as I said, I'm hanging on to the right side of 30 at the moment. And I don't have too many liabilities or kids or anything like that. I was like, if this is the time to do it, this is going to be it. You know, there's never going to be an easy time to make the jump. And yeah, look, it's hard. I know what my income's going to be roughly for the next 2 months, and then that's it. It falls off a cliff. I've got no idea.
Yep.
Could be really good, could be poor, and you don't know. So yeah, it was certainly the right decision at the time. Ask me again in a couple of months, Adam. I'll let you know if it still is. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely comes with its pros and cons. I think a big thing that we'll all agree with is it's so unpredictable. You just don't know what's around the corner. You could have your best case next week, or you could have a case that you've been working on for months and then it falls off a cliff. So that's what I find quite difficult as well. But I'm lucky enough to have other things in the background, just like you, Ben. Kind of low liabilities. I can pay my bills essentially, which is a huge kind of weight off my shoulders. But I know not everyone's as privileged as that. And you know, it is really, this is our sole income, and it is hard. It's there's no hiding that at all.
Yeah, I think any of us would sort of.
Go, please, Anna.
I think any of us would lie if we don't have our days where we go, "What on earth am I doing? Why did I make this decision?" You know, Ben gets a call from me on probably a daily basis at the moment. But you know, it does all come down to that, doesn't it? You sit there and you think. You got to think about your decisions and try and pick one and stick to it for a while and see how that goes. And if it doesn't work out, there are other options out there. But you know, you can't give something up if you haven't tried. So yeah, a little bit of words of wisdom from probably the oldest person here.
It is the case. Look, so me and you, Anna, we knew each other for a few months before we started this project, and it is a case of about once a month we have what's known as a "what the fuck am I doing" moment, you know, and it is just that pure panic where you see a job on LinkedIn for 50-60K, just like, oh, that'd be so nice right now, but you remind yourself of why you made the jump in the first place, and it's you know, it's a long-term project. Was it the football coaches say you trust the process?
Back to your para planning is rubbish. What did you find so rubbish about that route? Because obviously there are some people who go from the para planning side of things and then move on to financial advice, isn't there? So why was that one not for you?
Yeah, look, I think paraplanning is a brilliant career and it suits so many people. But I think you've really got to understand where your skill sets lies. You know, I don't have that particular paraplanner eye for detail. Writing long reports, it was something I had to do first thing in the morning whilst I still had that creative energy. And then in the afternoon, I'd go off and do, you know, the research, the numbers side of things, because I found it easier after, you know, you're a little bit tired. But I think as an advisor, there's a massive emphasis on sort of the emotional and the social side of things. There's no point being the best financial advisor in the world and be able to put together a fantastic plan if you can't communicate the value of that to your clients, you know. So I looked at the options and I thought just financial advice was the way for me. You know, I started off like that. I didn't even know what paraplanning was when I first started, but it never
How
really changed my mind.
difficult was it to look for jobs? Because I think, like, you know, people who essentially, you know, Adam and like sort of myself all came down that academy route, and you know, Will had the luck of a family member, and you know, but from your point of view, Ben, like obviously looking for a job in that industry, what was that like?
It's weird because we're told constantly there's a shortage of financial advisors, and to make the jump from paraplanning to financial advice still is really hard. It's not an easy thing to do. That's assuming you're looking for an employed position. If you want to go self-employed, there's a ton of people be more than happy to have you. I think I just got lucky. You know, I applied for another paraplanner role, and they offered me trainee advisor. You know, I wasn't expecting to make that jump. But again, I think it is you've got to take your chances, and sometimes it will just fall in your lap, you know. And
Right place, right time.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's exactly it. So
I think there definitely is a disparity at the minute with from a friend of mine who's in the job market, and there's so few training advisor roles, and they'll go and speak to these firms and go through the job adverts, and it's all, like you said, Ben, with your experience, the older generation, they've built up, they don't want to expand. The business is where they want it to be until they retire. So at the minute, they're sat quite happy.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, I was briefly looking at roles out there, and obviously, I came across the various academies that are out there, and you do kind of go, well, if I want to get into this industry at the moment, that does seem like the most logical route, because that's what's being advertised. You know, these academies are being advertised. And you're right, there's very little adverts out there for trainee advisor roles within sort of independent firms. It's interesting. Be interesting to see what that looks like in the next few years with that advice gap, essentially.
Yeah, I think I'm going to thank you, Anna, for that's a really good segue sort of to the
You're
next
welcome.
the next part of what we want to talk today. And I will note we have lost Adam if you're watching this. On YouTube. So we'll try and get him back as soon as possible. But if he goes quiet, that's not just because he's not too chatty, because he certainly is. No, I think the reason why we got together today is we know there's that advice gap. Just a couple of figures that we've got. So from February 2024, any guesses for how many advisors are under the age of 25?
It's got to
I
be
need a
small.
guess.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know where. Oh.
Say again, Ben.
Oh, we've got you back, Adam. So how many
Can we
advisors?
go with 5%?
You got, so the actual number. Okay.
2,000.
Less, I have 1,500, I think.
Okay, so it makes up 1% of the total advisors in the UK, and there's, as of February 24, there's 174 advisors under 25. You know,
Sorry, 174?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So in total, there's 31,182 at the time of writing. So yeah, under 25, that makes up less than 1%. Between 25 and 29, that goes up to about 1,600. That makes up 5% of the total number of planners in the UK. And then when we get to the over 60s, bear in mind as a financial advisor, I think you'd want to have a relatively early retirement if you wanted to. That goes up to over 6,000, over a quarter of all financial advisors over the age of 60. You know, and these are the numbers that are passed around all over the place. Well, in our industry,
you see that on a lot of essentially marketing material that is out there with all the with these companies, and that is a big thing. You know, majority of these advisors are going to be retiring in the next sort of like 5-10 years, and they've got to pass it on to someone. You know, there's a lot of people out there that need that advice.
And we're definitely not at the picky area of our career where we can start, knocking back clients. But there's definitely going to be a point where it's going to be a luxury to have a financial planner, and you'll start to look at minimums and all these different things, and it's not going to be good for anyone at all.
No, I think there's also a gap in, which is going to naturally happen as well, where those existing clients, so like the 60-year-old advisors, they've got their client banks. Well, they're going to get older, they're going to pass away, and it's how good a catchment have we got to make sure that they beneficiaries are actually being looked after, and they've got the same level of advice and support that either their parents, grandparents, whoever it's come from, had, to start with.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this these figures, and as a self-employed advisor, I think quits it. Honestly, it's such an opportunity, and it's not a good thing for the industry, because we need financial advisors in the UK. SJP estimate we need about 50,000 additional. Okay, so that's nearly double what we've currently got at the moment, and the numbers aren't going up. It's just stagnant. And so, from an individual point of view, absolutely, what an opportunity. But for the state of the profession, it needs to change. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
I was thinking earlier on about the advice gap as well. There's £185 billion worth of opportunity out there, and 39 million people fall within the advice gap as well. So there is a huge opportunity, but you can only look after so many people. So between the four of us, we're barely scratching the surface. So it's something needs done.
So, Will, why do you think we're in this scenario? Why do you think there is this advice gap? Because looking out, it looks like a brilliant opportunity. Why aren't more people taking advantage of it?
I think it goes back to, the question Anna asked me about, going back to that conversation of accountancy, everyone knows what it is. Mortgage advisor, everyone knows what it is. Financial advisor, I think we've had this chat before, and then if you ask half our friends, they don't have a clue what we do, let alone, people, how we, the common public. So I think it's a lack of understanding, but it's also not many people have, you want to do a job where you've seen what it looks like. So you know what working in retail looks like because you've been shopping. You know what working in hospitality looks like because, you've been to a restaurant. Unless you've had a financial advisor, you don't know what working in as a financial advisor will look like. So I think it also might link back to that advice gap as well, where less people having financial advice means less people know what getting into the industry will look like for them.
Yeah.
I definitely think the big players, the big academies, targeting ex-army, ex-sportsmen, people, career pretty much stops when you leave the army or get injured or whatever. I think targeting these people and saying, look, you have a great determination, you've absolutely thrived in your previous career. Have you considered this? This is what it looks like. You've still got freedom. All these different things. So I think targeting those types of people is, definitely a good thing for the big firms.
Yeah. I think it is that second careerist, isn't it? I think there's typically two kind of people that join this role. Is fresh out of university or college or whatever it may be, and it's your first real career, which is sort of my experience, and I'd say same with you and Adam and Will.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then you've got the second careerist, such as yourself, Anna. You've got a network of people behind you that could potentially be clients of you because they know you, they trust you, and could have a bit of quick start off the line potentially by using that network. But
do you think the universities are doing enough in terms of giving this as an opportunity for a career? Because I don't think, obviously coming through an accounting and finance degree, I don't think I heard much about being in the financial advice industry when I was at uni. And obviously, I know the fees are insane these days in terms of university fees compared to what I paid essentially. But I think there isn't that kind of career opportunity as much. I mean, obviously, Ben said you had that prospectus that you went through and it came up there, but is that happening out there? I mean, I don't know. I don't remember it being a career that I was ever really spoken to about very much. I knew about it, but I didn't know I didn't really know the in-depth of what a financial advisor did. I think the thing I pictured a financial advisor as more of a fund manager. I expected them to be making trades and looking after people's trading and accounts and investments more directly, but that isn't really the case. We're not really having that hands-on experience with people's investments as much. And so I think it's very interesting that our perception of what that career looks like is very different depending on, who we are, what route we've come down and whatever else. So I think it's interesting to hear about, what the universities could do essentially.
Yeah, I think moving on from that, sort of we need to sort of have a real look at what needs to be done. We've identified there's that problem, and I think potentially universities could be doing, but they've got no commitment particularly to this role. I think it does need to come from some of those bigger firms, maybe even the CII or the CISI, the LRBF, or pick your body of choice, and just build on that. But some of these companies got fantastic budgets to produce these academies. You've got the big three: M&G, SJP, and Quilter. And they are doing their best, but I don't think it's going to be enough. It needs to come from the grassroots level with local IFAs, and I don't know. It's such a complicated question, but essentially, that's part of one of the reasons why we're here, isn't it?
And I'm sure that's what a lot of these companies are thinking about. I think this advice gap sort of question or situation has been thrown around a lot recently, and I think maybe it is on a lot more people's minds than it maybe was 5 years ago, for instance. And so or sort of 15 years ago, whenever I was at uni, I think that's it. These opportunities are becoming something that is more questioned and kind of thought about. So these companies are starting to think about doing something about it.
I feel like it's only when you're in the industry and you hear about the advice gap and the opportunity. I think they have to break that barrier and show the opportunity to people that aren't considering this career. So I didn't know about the advice gap, if I'm honest, until I was sitting in the academy and they're saying there's all this opportunity. So I think it has to be portrayed to everyone across the board.
Yeah, okay, totally. We talk about all these gaps. We've also got what's it called? Help me out, guys.
We don't know what you're
sudden
getting
inflow of wealth. What's the sudden inflow of wealth coming through the generations? What's they call it?
Intergenerational.
Yeah. Great transfer of wealth. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And,
I tell you what, you're rubbish at articulate, Ben. I've never been on your team.
All of us just looking at him, being like, "What are you trying to get at here?"
I'll tell you what it is. I'm in my office at the moment, and I've got the curtains blowing, so I've had to shut all the windows. And as we've gone on, we've been running for nearly 45 minutes now. The temperature has just gone up.
Yeah, we need to appreciate today was one of the hottest days of the year so far. We're all sat in our office. I've got a fan beaming at me saying it's 29 degrees in this room.
Well, we've lost Adam's camera, so for all we know, he's just sitting out there in his boxes, just trying to cool down. So.
Eating a paddling pool.
Yeah.
I got a notification saying it'll still be okay for the recording, whatever that means. So I can still see myself, and I am in a paddling pool.
Fantastic, guys. I think this is a really good place to wrap it up. And what I'm going to do is I'll finish on essentially what you guys can expect from future episodes. We're looking to record once every 3 weeks, so not too often, but please bear with us. It's going to be worth holding on for. Essentially, each week we're going to be looking at a different part of this role. It's really aimed towards people that are looking to join the profession, or maybe relatively new to it. We're not ageist, but we are all relatively in our younger years, particularly if you're considering some of the figures we were talking about early with the amount of over 60s. One old stat I heard was we've got more advisors over 70 than under 30, which really speaks volumes. It's amazing. So we're going to be running through areas such as going through exams, what it's like when you're trying to make that decision between employed or self-employed, and things that the CII and the other bodies just don't teach you. Some lessons that we've learned the hard way, so you guys don't have to. So thank you so much for joining us for this very rough and ready initial pilot episode, and we look forward to hearing to making more episodes together in the future. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks.